Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. As you might have guessed, this podcast is dedicated to kindness. Kindness is a superpower that each and every one of us possesses, a force that is strong enough to drastically impact your life and the lives of those around you for the better. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about kindness, and let's talk about how each and every one of us can use kindness to change the world. Hello and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. I'm joined today, and this is a first for me, by two guests, not one, but two. I have Joanne Petrun. Did I get that right? Petrun?
Petron.
Okay.
I don't care.
It's okay. We'll work with it.
Honestly.
Joanne Petron and Edie Weinstein. We've had Edie on before. You may remember her from a previous podcast. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you,
Mike.
Awesome. So we're talking about all things kindness here, and you guys have a real history with kindness, and I absolutely love what you guys are doing. Joanne, I'll start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about Bucks County Kind?
Sure. So I guess I'll start with where it started. So about 18 months ago, I would say, when we were still kind of in the thick of COVID and all the divisiveness and every uncertainty and fear and everything that was going on in that time, I felt I have three little kids as well. So I felt a sense of just uncertainty and sadness with the way of the world. So I felt the need to do something. And this all started by, I went to a local bagel shop with my three kids, and I had the idea just randomly to pay for someone's order. So I paid for it. It was a to-go order, so they weren't there at the time. And then I stepped back and waited with my kids for them to pick up the order, or waited to pick up our own order. The patron came in, and of course they told them, your order had been paid for. And the person came up to me and just was overly gracious and grateful, and just for me paying. And it was literally a small bag. It was like, it was a bagel with cream cheese, most likely. So it was not anything significant or tremendous. But I think just the gesture of a complete stranger being willing to do that for someone, it seemed to really affect this person. And my kids saw how grateful she was. And I've done random acts of kindness before, but I don't like to do it for for people to see it, for the acknowledgement. I just like to do it. So this was cool though, because I saw the effect that it had on my kids and this person. And it got me thinking, if one person, me, can do this and have this effect on one person in our community, what potentially could we do as a community wide, and what sort of impact could we make? So then I decided anonymously to put a post out to our local town Facebook page saying, would anyone be interested, or would merchants or anyone be interested in a random acts of kindness initiative? And the response was overwhelming immediately. There were so many comments. Yes, oh my gosh, absolutely, I'd love to get involved. We need this, that sort of thing. So then Edie reached out to me, and I think she felt connected and drawn to this. And so we came up with, we'll start by a Facebook page. And that's how we met, and that's how the Facebook group started.
Well, that's kind of a really good connection too with your Hug Mobsters, Edie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Right. Since Joanne mentioned it happened during the pandemic, I had to put that on hold. And this felt like a wonderful extension of that, where we didn't physically have to touch people to make a difference. So we launched the Facebook page in April of last year, and to date we have over 1,500 people.
Oh my gosh!
Not just from Bucks County, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, but from all over the world. And anybody is welcome to join it. no matter where they're from. Then we said what we wanted to do with the merchants and other businesses in our immediate region was to create cards that we could hand out. And I have a friend, Eric, who is an amazing artist. He designed the cards, which have all different little hands on there. And it's an offer of this card. Please accept this card as a gesture from your neighbor. I don't remember the exact, I don't have it right in front of me. And on the back was a link to the Facebook page. So when we give out cards, nobody said no to those.
Sure.
And
Because they're free.
Well, not just because they're free. I'm comparing it to if I had gone around offering hugs at that time, most people would say no to that.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah. So kindness is contagious.
Yeah. And the thought is that you perform a random act of kindness, no matter how big or small, and you leave the card with the recipient. And then the thought is that they then pay it forward, pass it on, and it has a ripple effect. Because we believe that when you perform a random act of kindness for mostly a stranger, it changes their heart even in that moment. And I think they feel compelled then to pay it forward and to do something nice, even if it's just to go home and be nicer to the people that they live with. You know what I mean? Or be nicer to themselves. It just softens them, I think. I think it just has that effect on humanity.
Absolutely. You cannot receive an act of kindness, and this is just my own personal belief, but I don't think you can receive an act of kindness and not be changed, even if it's just for, half an hour in a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that sometimes the card itself feels like an act of kindness. So not only have we given them out to local merchants and hospitals, medical offices, where else have I put them? Banks, restaurants, but I carry them with me in the car. And when I go through a drive-through for my bank to make a deposit, I'll hand them a card.
Sure.
I'll stick a card in the little tube. And when I go to my gym, I leave a card in the locker room for someone to find.
Okay.
We've given them out to the people at the gym at the front desk. And anytime I walk in, one of the guys says, "Oh, there's Be Kind." Now you can't see it, audience, but I'm wearing a T-shirt that says "Be Kind," and it's a quote, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
Sure.
So last October, I was in Pittsburgh for the very first time, and I said, I've got to stop at the John Hines Museum that has the Fred Rogers exhibit. And he was the king of kindness, I believe.
Right.
And then when I went to the gift shop, this followed me home. So I wear it to the gym. I wear it out and about, wherever people can see it.
It followed me home. Can I keep it?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That's awesome. So now, how did you guys go about getting these businesses? I think I saw in a newspaper's article you were actually wandering around. What was it, Doylestown?
Mm-hmm.
Like soliciting businesses to take some of your cards. Is that the best way to describe that, Joanne?
I mean, there wasn't one store. We wanted to get the word out there last summer because we started the Facebook page in April of last year. So we wanted all the merchants to know what we were trying to do and just give more awareness and invitations to join this Facebook group. So we walked the streets of Doylestown, and there wasn't one business that didn't respond with, "Oh my gosh, yes, this is amazing. Absolutely." Right, Edie?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then, that was one day. But prior to that, we had on our own approached the businesses, people that we know. Doylestown is I don't know what the equivalent would be where you live, a small town with a big heart.
Right.
And it's the county seat of Bucks County. So it's where the courthouse is. It's got a lot of cultural significance. Oscar Hammerstein lived there when he wrote Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And the song, "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning," when he was talking about the corn is as high as an elephant's eye, he was looking out the window of his house at a cornfield in Bucks County. It wasn't in Oklahoma, it was in Doylestown. So that's there. The Michener Museum, the Mercer Museum.
Sure.
It's what do they call it? The Genius Belt is what Bucks County is called.
Oh.
So people here are already predisposed to creative things, creative experiences. They're already predisposed to do good. So it was a no-brainer. It was a natural connection. And so we went around that day, followed by a reporter and a photographer. And the cool story, I don't know if it's the one, does it have a picture of a little dog in front of a pizza shop?
Oh, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. You meet all kinds of amazing people doing this. So there was a woman sitting out there. Was it 2 dogs, Joanne, or just one?
I think it's one. It was outside of Nat's Pizza.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a little teacup Yorkie or whatever. I don't even know what kind of dog it was, but it was very cute. We also take them to art. There was an arts festival in Doylestown. I carried them around there. There's a Pride Fest coming up in Doylestown in the middle of June, so I'm going to be taking them there. There's a Pride Fest in New Hope, another town, so I'll have them there. Any kind of public setting,
sure,
is a perfect place to do it. And I think it inspires generosity in people.
Oh, absolutely. It'd almost have to.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be this grand gesture. So simple things like holding a door open for someone. What else? Letting them cut in front of you when you're driving, in traffic. Picking up litter.
Yeah. And I think I've talked about this before on the show about how the small things I think get overlooked when we think about, I'm gonna be kind, and it's usually, you think about paying for somebody's meal or buying somebody's coffee, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to cost you a penny to be kind.
Right.
And it's so easy to do. And, some people, oh, well, it's going to take forever, or whatever the case. Because we can always, as human beings, we can always come up with an excuse not to do something, right? But, yeah, I think we overlook these small gestures, say, how are you? And then actually stop to listen to the answer.
Yeah.
I always talk to people at the cash register, with supermarkets. I ask them how their day is going. In the height of the pandemic, I would say, I hope people are being nice to you. I hope they're being kind to you. You're doing your job,
No, I agree. And I was going to say that too, Edie. I think just acknowledging people in those sort of roles where I think they're overlooked. They're just there to serve. Yeah. I think to take a minute to stop and acknowledge them and thank them and recognize them and what they're doing for you. I think that goes a long way, especially you go to the post office and you're going to wait in line and everyone's frustrated, but you can approach the counter and be pleasant and appreciative,
Yeah.
I just did a show earlier this week with a gal, and she told her story, and it's very similar to this, so I want to throw this in. She was in the grocery store and there was only one register open, and she waited, and she was not frustrated, but she could see that the people in front of her were frustrated, and everybody was giving this cashier grief. Mm-hmm. And she got up to the cashier and she said, "How are you doing? Are you okay?"
No.
And the cashier said, "My dad died yesterday."
Oh.
And she said, "Why are you here?"
Oh gosh.
And so she went and found the manager, the store owner, and she said, "Did you know that this person's dad died yesterday?" And he was horrified. He didn't know. She hadn't told him. Mm. And he made her leave right then and there and said, "You're going to take 3 days off. I'll cover your shift."
Mm. Wow. Wonderful.
And yeah, we all saw the ugly side of the pandemic, especially with grocery store workers, any kind of service individuals, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I always made it a point to say, thanks for being here today. I appreciate the fact that you're here today. And yeah, it really, that appreciation is appreciated. You can see it in their face.
Right. Yeah. So when I go out to vote today, I'm going to thank the poll workers.
Oh, absolutely.
For being there. And I don't know whether they'll let me give them cards because you're not supposed to bring anything in there that, yeah. Oh, that's the other thing about this. This is apolitical. Okay.
Right.
It's not, there's nothing political about kindness.
Nope.
Although we might be referred to as woke but who doesn't want to be, who doesn't want someone to be kind to them?
Right. Right. I mean, there's nothing political about that.
No. Mm-mm.
And that's a big part of it too with the kids, to show them that there is no agenda. This is just, we're normalizing kindness for the next generation.
Yeah, that's so amazing. When you were telling your story, Joanne, I was thinking about that, because what a great way to teach our kids and the future generation. I mean, my kids are all grown, but I've got a grandson now, and when he's old enough to understand that, you can bet I'll be there. But I mean, to raise a future generation of kind people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 grandchildren myself. Lucy just turned 1, and Dean is a little over 3. And from the day she was born, I would say to him, my son and daughter-in-law would say, be kind to Lucy. And we would direct him, okay, touch nicely, because they're at the ages now where they're starting to wrestle together.
Oh dear.
I was there this morning. She was pulling his hair, and instead of pushing her away, he said, Bubby, Lucy's pulling my hair. So I walked over and I unlatched her hand from his head. And I said, thank you for being kind to Lucy by telling me, because we don't want Lucy to hurt you either. And my grandkids are learning kindness in other ways too, because when he goes to a daycare preschool, and when my daughter-in-law was there for student teacher or parent teacher conference, his teacher said, oh, we all love him here. And he's like a little old man. And she said, what do you mean? Well, he's always asking everybody, how are you today? How are you feeling? Aww. Are you okay? And that just melted my heart when I heard that. She said, I bet he spends lots of time with his grandparents. And I said, yep. So when we're out and about in public, he'll say hi to people. When they took my son and daughter-in-law and the kids and I went out for lunch for Mother's Day. And Dean was saying to everybody there, Happy Mother's Day. The manager came around and asked how everything was. And he said, good. We said, good. And Dean said, Happy Mother's Day. He says, well, I'll tell my mom, and he said, Happy Mother's Day to the waitress. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and hopefully they're not jaded by this world, and they maintain that cognizance of kindness and what it feels like to give it, right? Mm-hmm. And also what it feels like to receive it.
Yeah, and that's hard. For some people, it's hard to receive acts of kindness. It's easier. You've heard the saying, I don't know if the exact saying is it's better to give than to receive. It's easier to give than to receive, because when you're the giver, you're in charge. You get to decide who you give to, how much, when to stop giving. When you're the recipient of kindness, you're at the whim of someone else's, the mercy of someone else's good grace.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about kindness as a control thing.
It can be. Yep. When Joanne was saying earlier about not wanting to make a big show of, I did this kind thing, aren't I wonderful? I cringe when I see videos of people with folks that are homeless and doing something kind for this poor,
Look how wonderful I am.
Right. So the only reason I can think of to put it out there that you do kind things like we're doing here is to be an example.
Right. To motivate someone.
Right. right?
Go
But
ahead, Joanne.
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no, no. I was just saying to inspire, and that is the purpose
Yeah.
of the group. And we're always encouraging that. And again, I do think some people struggle with that,
Mhm.
feeling as though, look at me, this is what I did. But it's not. I did this small gesture. I have a busy life, and maybe someone didn't have that idea. Because to your point, Mike, I think a lot of when you hear random acts of kindness, like you said, it's pay for a meal, do something grand. But we're always encouraging. It's the small things. That's what's going to change this community. That's what will change the hearts of everyone. And that's if we instill that in the younger generation, it's easier for it to be normal for them. It's easier just to be a part of their daily lives and not something they have to consciously think about.
Absolutely.
So that's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what I just had a brainstorm. I don't know that it would make a difference, but I've thought about sending a bunch of cards to Washington, D.C. for them to be delivered to the White House, the Pentagon, Congress, Senate, so they can be reminded. What do you think, Joanne?
Oh my God. Well, that would be amazing.
Do you mean like legislators?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think, and again, I don't know how to define politics, but we all live on the same planet. We all drink the same water, breathe the same air. So if people could see each other as servant leaders and not opponents on each side of the aisle, if they could be kind to each other, imagine how much kinder they'll be to us, to the world. So, yeah. So maybe I'll gotta think about that.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this theme that if we could each see each other as human beings, and we have way more connections than we have divisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if we could see each other, when I look at you, Edie, I see a grandmother and a mother, and I can't beat the purple hair, but we don't have that in common. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if we could each see each other that way, somebody who does their job and goes to work to pay the bills, you're just trying to get through life every single day, and that person is doing the same thing. I don't know. It's an unbaked thought.
Well, that's what's cool about it is that you get to decide what ingredients go into the unbaked cake.
Now, when you were talking about cards, I just left that whole thought, didn't I? It's
okay.
Squirrel. When you were talking about cards, were you talking about your Bucks County cards?
Yeah, Bucks County kind cards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I can do is send you to put in the show notes, or I don't know if you can show pictures of the cards.
I might be able to.
Or you can put a link to the page and people can see
Oh,
them.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah, because we want to encourage people to join.
Yeah. Now, do you encourage other communities to start that up?
Yeah, we've suggested it in other interviews. So anybody that's listening, if you want to start this in your own community, we're available to consult with you about how we did it. And we can put you in touch with Eric to create cards for you.
That's the nice thing about the East Coast is your towns, your suburban areas, maybe, I don't know, I might be way off on this. Okay, for example, I'm in Ham Lake, Minnesota. It's a suburb of Minneapolis, but it's really spread out. There's a highway that runs directly through it. There's no downtown. There's no central gathering area, if you will. So for when you guys were walking downtown Doylestown and hanging out, we don't have that kind of place here. I mean, we have businesses, and I could contact the businesses, but that's the cool thing about the East Coast is you have these communities where there's a proper downtown area. And I think that in itself encourages people to be together in the same place.
Yeah, Doylestown's the kind of place where, like the TV show Cheers, a place where everybody knows your name.
Edie.
Yeah, seriously. Or you're the hug lady. And if I don't know who, Jen, if you know this, but who created the campaign Love Your Local? I don't know if you're
I'm not familiar with it.
Sure.
Have you ever seen those signs in windows? Like, it's about the idea of shopping locally instead of going to chain stores.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
Businesses. So it's that kind of community that we frequent businesses regularly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I know there are a number of businesses here in Ham Lake. That just sounds wrong.
Ham
Hamlet.
Oh, okay.
If you Google Ham Lake, Minnesota, and you see an aerial picture of the lake, it looks like a ham, bone in.
That's where the name came from?
I think so.
Funny.
Originally, it was settled by Irish people who called it, or maybe it was Scotsmen. I don't know. But the name of the town, the area was Glencarry.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Swedes couldn't say it.
Oops.
So they had to change it to something else. And they go, well, everybody can say Ham Lake. I don't know. That's the legend
Cool.
at any rate.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, where we live, there's Peace Valley Park and Lake Galena. So it's a beautiful walking park. So that's in Doylestown.
Cool.
So we're doing a what are we calling this? Another word for promo for our town. Having a middle-aged moment here.
That's okay.
We're promoting the area here, the tourist bureau. We're an extension of the tourist bureau.
I heard you laughing, Joanne. You'll get there.
Yes, she's much younger.
I have mom brain.
Yeah, her children are not much older than my grandchildren.
Oh dear. Well, this has been awesome, you guys. I think this is such a great idea, and kudos to you. And I know you don't do it for the kudos, you don't do it for the recognition, but I think it's such an awesome idea, and it's such an awesome movement.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Mike.
I can't wait to see. I'm following Bucks County Kind on Facebook. I think I've even shared a couple of the posts recently.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, we encourage people when they're on the page to post. I mean, anybody can post. To post memes, to post videos, stories, anything having to do with kindness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not just us; it's anybody can.
And if they ever wanted cards, we also are more than willing to get them to them, either physically or we're happy to mail them as well. We've done that.
Yeah, the other cool thing is that the places that we've taken them have asked for refills.
Oh, nice.
There's a Mexican restaurant in town. I think we've refilled them 3 times. And a candy store that we've refilled them a number of times. And so it's a good thing.
That's awesome. And I went to look at the card, and for some reason I thought it was, the card said something specific to Bucks County, and it doesn't. Mm-mm. So if you want some of these cards for your business, reach out to Bucks County Kind on Facebook. Okay. And I'll have all these links in there.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much for your time and energy and your willingness to chat with me. I really do appreciate it. And you guys keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. If you've ever wondered how to start a kindness movement in your community, Joanne Petron and Edie Weinstein have given you a blueprint. And I think that was such a fun episode to do. Those two are so inspirational, and I just want to go out and start one now, and maybe I will. Thank you all so much for the gift of your time today and listening to the podcast. And remember to be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. I am Mike Rathbun, and you have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. Have a fantastic week.